welcome everyone. That's great pleasure to see people actually from very different countries, because judging from your names, I see that there are Ukrainian teachers, teachers from Europe, teachers from Asia. So wonderful. That's excellent. That's really, really pleasant to work for such an audience. My name is Lidiya Simak. I work for Great Education Center. I'm a teacher trainer, and also a Young Learners Academic Director. Today, I'm here to share 5 tips. That's the name of my training. 5 tips to probably make your life, teacher's life, a bit easier, and to show you where you can learn more if you need help with something, if something doesn't work in your class and you don't know what to do. So please feel free to participate. Feel free to write something in the chat. I'm going to share my presentation with you. Can you please also let me know if you can see it? You can just drop something in the chat, maybe a plus, if you can see my presentation. Thank you, Daria. Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Camila. Another Daria. All right. So today, we're talking about how to make the learning happen in your class. So which means that how to help your students learn. If there is something that prevents that learning. And before we start, actually, we're going to play a little game. Okay, we can play this game online. We can try to play this game online, but this is more suitable for offline. So first of all, I want to know something about you, but I will not ask you to share. I want to know if we share common things as teachers. So what's going to happen? I will say something about me, and if you do like the same, can you please say me too? You can unmute and say me too. Let's try. If you're a brave person, can you please turn your sound on and say me too? 1, 2, 3. Say it.
Me too.
Me too.
Me too.
Me too.
But to make it a little bit more organized, I'm going to clap, and you will say after you hear my clap. So can you say me too before you hear my clap? No. So
Me too.
Right. In real life situation, you would also give me a high five. You can give me a high five to the camera if you like. Okay. So listen to me and say and tell me if you are the same. So I teach kids 6 to 10-year-olds.
Me too.
Me too.
Thank you. Yeah, high five to you. Okay, next. I teach young teenagers or preteens, 10 to 12-year-olds.
Me too.
Me too. Me too.
Yay, thank you. So I'm going to share to show you the statements. Okay, next. I teach teenagers, 13 to 17-year-olds.
Me too.
Me too.
Cool. High five to you. Next. I teach large groups, sometimes 20+ students.
Me too.
Me too.
Thank you. I teach mixed ability groups with weak and strong learners together.
Me
too.
Thank you. High five. All right. I sometimes teach groups with different dynamics, with fast and slow learners in one room.
Me too.
Me
too.
Me too.
High five, people. Okay, next. I sometimes use a course book that is too difficult for my learners.
Me too.
So there is
Me
one
too.
person, 2 people. Okay, sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes we have to teach the book that we are provided, and we have to do something about it. So we will talk today what we can do. Okay, one more. I sometimes use a course book that is not suitable for some reason.
Me too.
Oh, okay. High five to you, poor people. And the last one, sometimes my students don't get on with each other?
Me too.
Thank you very much. So,
Me too.
so I use this activity to actually check if you face the same problems, because there is something I can actually share with you to help you to at least do something about this. So I hope my training will be useful. So yes, what we're going to do, I will try to help you. I hope it will work. So before we actually talk about these problems, can I ask you to mute yourselves and write in the chat? So what kind of activity was it? Can you please write one word in your chat? 1 or 2 words. What do you think it was? Any ideas? Warm-up activity. Okay, yes, it could be one. Julia, it could be a lead-in. You're right. Yeah, that is the lead-in for my presentation. But if you use such a task in class, warm-up. Okay, my little tip. What if it's a new group? Icebreaker. Thank you, Victoria. Exactly. So this is the activity that we use to break the ice, which means that do you feel that you have something in common with all those people who also said me too? Can you please put a plus in the chat if you do? I hope you do. Yeah, thank you very much. Exactly. So do you think if I ask you to talk to the new people, but you know that they share the same problems, the same worries, will it be more comfortable for you to work with those people, to talk to them, to share with them? If you think it's yes, thank you for your pluses. Right, so this is the icebreaker activity. Yes, we usually use it in the class with new students or with the students who haven't seen each other for a long time. For example, when you have kids class, teens class, and they haven't seen each other during summer. Sometimes they grow so fast that they feel uncomfortable with each other after such a break. And this is a good idea to do something like this with them. Okay, I asked you to give me a high five to the camera. When we have a real class, when we have a face-to-face class, why is it a good idea to make people give high fives to each other when they say me too? Can you please drop a few lines or a few words to the chat? Why is it a good idea, that high five thing? Not recommended at COVID times, but we all have sanitizers in our classes, so. Feel like friends. Thank you, Irina. That's a good idea. Julia, of course, they feel the same as you. Yes, to feel connected between each other. Yes. Participation, Camila, yes, agree with you. Yeah, ladies, all of you are right. What it works, why it works. Team building, yes, Lisa, it's also team building. When students physically interact with each other, it literally breaks the ice. They feel much easier with each other. Yes. So when they touch, when they interact, so it breaks the ice and it helps build good relationship between the students. Actually, students really hate each other less and they start liking each other more. When they hold hands because they play a game, when they give each other high fives, this works really, really well. I've checked it with different ages, different groups, different kind of students. They feel easier, especially it works very well with young learners and teenagers. So the physical touch, this is very, very important. They need this interaction and they feel much better about each other. So it really, really helps you start building this environment when students like each other and interact with each other better. So why do we need to do such activities with our learners at the beginning of the year or at the beginning of a course? Do you think it's a good idea to start with icebreakers and team builders? If you think yes, can you please write down why? just 1 or 2 words. Why is it a good idea to start with icebreaking and team building? Share your ideas. I hope that you are typing. Participation later. Thank you, Vita. To build rapport. Yes, exactly. To get ready to learn. Exactly. Thank you, Suni. I hope that I'm pronouncing your name right. Right, exactly. So when we learn a language, so what we want our students is we want them to talk to each other, because this is how we can actually help them practice what we learn, grammar, vocabulary, structures, and so on. How we help them learn, remember the language, the phrases, the chunks. And if they don't speak to each other, this is very bad, because the more they speak to each other, the better they feel among each other, which means that the better they use the language and the better they remember. So you cannot really teach a class the language or any language if they don't want to talk to each other, which means that they only talk to the teacher. How much will they speak? So this is the way how you can teach your learners, how you can create the safety environment in class that will allow your learners to communicate with each other in English, which means use the language in natural situations and remember it better. Because if they don't use it, they don't learn, they do not speak English. So yes, this is very important to use icebreakers and team builders. What kind of problem does it help us deal with? The problems that I mentioned at the beginning when we were playing that game, Me Too. What do you think? Is it the problem with course books or some other problem? What do you think? Drop me a line to the chat. Waiting for your responses. I will give you 5 more seconds. Maybe someone's typing. Yeah, thank you, Julia. Could you repeat the question? Yes. So I'm repeating the question. What kind of problem that I mentioned when I was talking about myself during the Me Too activity? What kind of problem do the icebreakers help us start solving? So Irina mentioned communication problem. Yes. When we talk about the problems that I mentioned, team builders and icebreakers, they help us. Yes, exactly. Not willing to study, Vita, you're right. I would say that not only to study, because yes, this is a very good motivator. This is a fun activity. It's nice. But it helps us if students do not get on with each other very well. That's, we're all the same. Yeah. Camila, I'm not sure what you mean. What I'm trying to say is that I've had a couple of situations in my teaching career, and I've been teaching for about 18 years, when I had a class when students literally didn't want to talk to each other. They were 12 and I couldn't make them speak. They didn't want to talk to each other, so I couldn't do any pair work with them. So what I did is I actually started doing some fun icebreakers and team builders with them. They were playing a game, and while playing the game, they had to communicate each other and touch each other. So they had to touch hands, otherwise they couldn't play the game. And it really, really helped, because in my lessons, I'm not sure about the other lessons, but they started tolerated each other more. They didn't refuse talking to each other, and I could actually organize pair work. So this is something that helps create a positive learning atmosphere in your class. And it helps if your students do not want to work together. So icebreakers and team builders, this is very important. This is what you need to do if you have a class where students do not want to cooperate. This is what I was trying to say. You can Google icebreakers and team builders for offline and online. Please use them in class, because sometimes students do not learn, not because they're bad students or rebellious or something, but because they feel very uncomfortable. They don't know how to start talking to that classmate or something. They don't have very good relationships. They don't want to start talking, but these activities like icebreakers and team builders, they really, really help them start speaking in English. And this is what we want and why we teach them. Okay, this was the first tip that I wanted to share with you. Always do icebreakers and team builders in your class, even this is if it's the class that has already started together. They might need to do this one more time after a break, after holiday time, just to get started again and start trusting each other and cooperate. Another problem that everybody, like almost everyone has had in their career, this is a large class. How can we make everyone work? This is a good question. And now I will stop sharing my screen and I will actually ask you to share. So can you please, if you would like to talk and to participate, can you please turn your cameras on? If possible. I see that Daria has got her camera on. Thank you, Katerina. I can see you. Okay. Someone's trying to join. Victoria, thank you. Irina, thank you. Good to see your faces, ladies. Anna, thank you very much. Alexandra, Suni. Excellent, Katerina. So ladies, I will ask you to share what you do to teach large classes effectively. So I'm going to put you into, say, 2 breakout rooms. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you. I will put you into 2 breakout rooms, 2 or 3, we'll see. Can you please talk to each other for about a minute or 2 and share if you have any tips on how to deal with a large class and how to teach them on effectively? Tell your partners, listen to your partners and say, would you like to steal any tips that you hear from them and use them in your class? Okay, how much time have you got? How many minutes do you have to speak? Can you show me the fingers? Thank you, Daria, 2 minutes. Okay, so is it a good idea to listen to your partners and probably think what you would like to try in your class? Excellent, thank you. So we have 3 breakout rooms. Please talk together, share your ideas, do not hesitate. You might have brilliant ideas that your partner was really dying to hear, and that will save their life later. Please join the breakout room. Thank you for joining. Thank you for participating. Excellent. 2 minutes. Okay, everyone's coming back. Thank you very much, because I heard some very good ideas that you were sharing in your breakout rooms. Can you please wave your hand or give me a thumb up or any reaction if you have heard anything interesting from your partners? Thank you, Irina, Daria, Katerina, Alexandra, Svetlana. Excellent. Tanya, good. Okay, so what do you think would be my next tip? So if you have a large class, how can you teach them? What do you think? Can you please drop one sentence or one word in the chat?
Organize.
Yeah, or you can say, yes, you can say now.
Organize pair and group work.
Exactly. Group work, or what is even better?
Teamwork.
Pair work. Okay, exactly. So if you want your students to work effectively, you have to have pair work and group work in your lessons. So what happens is, so pair work, students work simultaneously. Everyone works at the same time. In one of the rooms, there was a moment when I heard that people didn't remember the question, right? That was room 2 or 3. What happened, guys, when you didn't remember the questions? And did you stay in the room and didn't know what to do, or something happened in your room? You can unmute and say if you would like. Or you can write down. Did I do something to help you? Okay. So just to save the time, yes, when I heard that someone in the room was asking, what is the question, guys? And people didn't remember. So I turned my microphone and camera on and I reminded about the question. So which means that as a teacher, What am I doing when people work in pairs and groups? What is the word? Can you please write one word in the chat? Exactly. So I monitor, observe, exactly. So which means that if it's online, I visit all the rooms, I listen what people say. If necessary, I help. If students don't need my help, do I interrupt them? Yes or no? Do I interrupt if students? No, I don't. So if if I know that they know what to do and they are speaking and they don't need my help, so I do not interrupt, I let them speak. I change the focus of my attention from pair to pair, and I listen to them while they're doing the task. So why this is effective? If your students work in pairs, how much time in percent do they speak? About 50%, right? So if they talk to each other, exactly. If you have a group of 3, ideally that's 30, 30, and 30. So if your students work in pairs, it means that even if you have a large class, you have 10 pairs, everyone will speak. If you have learned some language, some grammar or vocabulary, they have a task where they use that grammar or vocabulary. So you know that they are speaking and they are using the language, which means that this is how they remember, how they train to use it in real class. So pair work, group work, this is the key idea of how to manage a large class. The bad idea is when students are not doing anything, so there always must be something they need to do. When you were in breakout rooms, I said, please listen to your partners and think what you would like to do with your students. If you would like to steal some tips, why did I ask you to do that? Do you have any ideas? Why did I ask you to listen to your partners? You can say if you don't want to type, it's okay. Communicative, exactly. Thank you, Daria. Exactly, not to make much noise. Well, on the one hand, yes, but if I just say talk to your partner about something, will you listen to people speaking about something? Probably no, you might not listen. You can say, okay, I have a group of 3, those 2 can speak and they can just do my thing. No, if I say you have to listen to your partner, it means that they either speak or they have to listen to each other. It means that they're busy all the time. When they're not speaking, they have to listen because there is a task that they have to do. So students work at the same time. Teacher monitors and help if necessary without interruption. Yes, Olga, you're absolutely right. So students pay more attention and there is a clear and communicative task. Your task was listen to your partner and decide if you would like to use any tips in your class, which means that, well, you had to listen, not just listen, but listen why. So students have to have a reason to speak. Why do they speak? You had to share your experience working with a big class. Why students need to listen? Because they need to hear something that they will use later in class. So if you have both, if your students have the reason to speak and the reason to listen, this is the effective pair work. So this is tip number 2 from today, how you can manage a large class. And you can actually start teaching your kids working in pairs, starting from the very young age, 7, even 6. It's possible, but the older they are, the better they should be. You can actually start teaching them, and you can start implementing pair work to help them speak and to help them speak more during the class. Okay, so this is tip number 2. Next, one of my favorite things, mixed ability class. What can I do? So mixed ability, it means that some students, they are faster, better. The other students are slower and probably doing the things worse. Okay, I'm going to say a couple of things. And if you think this is the right thing to do, can you please put a plus? If you think this is not the right thing to do, put a minus in the chat, or you can show me, I can see your faces. You can actually show me a thumb up or thumb down to your camera. Okay, in a mixed ability class, you have to only work with the stronger students and cater to their needs, help them learn the language. And if the weaker are weaker, okay, let them be weaker. Oh, no, 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 no. Yes, I agree with you. You cannot do that. Number two, tip number two, again, agree or disagree. When the class is weaker, you have to wait till everybody finishes the task. If the stronger students finish the task earlier, this is their problem. Let them rest, let them wait, but they have to be quiet, but they have to wait for the weaker ones. No, 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 no. Excellent teachers. I even see some tips. People write extra task, additional task. Yes. So what we need to do is, ideally, we have to help the weaker students cope with the task. On the other hand, the stronger students, they also have to cope, but they don't have to wait. They shouldn't wait. They mustn't wait. This is a bad idea to wait. So which means that there are several ways of what you could do with your students. I'm going to give you one of the examples of the things that I do. If you look here, this is the handwritten practice for kids, which means that they have to write the words or the phrases. This is to practice handwriting and spelling. I sometimes, it depends on the class. I sometimes prepare two options. Which option is for students that are slower? Number one or number two? Slower students. Can you please write in the chat? Yes. Number two. 1, 2, 1, 2. So we have different opinions. So who writes faster and who writes more at the same amount of time? Faster or slower learners? Faster. So if they are faster, I prepare the handwriting practice with 2 lines for them. And for slower learners with 1 line. So which means that it means that they complete the task, but the faster students write more, the slower will write less. It doesn't work with every class. Sometimes, you know, that kids, they always look at what the other have and they say, aha, you have this and I have this. If you have a class where this doesn't work, I have a different tip. I actually prepare the same paper, either option 1 or option 2, but I do it differently. I help students do it at their own. I have several options. Option 1, I always say, guys, in class, you have to write 1 line and finish it. The second line, you can finish at home, which means that faster learners, they have time to write both lines. Slower learners, they write 1 line, that is the obligatory line, and they finish the second line at home. It works with some classes, but not all of them. There are still children that say, aha, I finished, and you haven't finished. And with such classes, I have option number 3 that always work. What I usually do is they all have those papers. I sit in a different corner of the room. I have already shown this activity. You might have seen it on Facebook or somewhere else. I have a flashcard that I carry like this. I chest it. They need to run to me from one corner of the room where they are writing to the corner where I am. I quickly show them the card. They run back and they write this word in their papers. When they finish, they run to me again. I show them the next flashcard. They run back and they write the word that they have seen, which means that every kid writes at their own pace and they do not run to me all together. They run to me when they have finished and they do not notice the speed. Sometimes I show them different flashcards, but it takes some time to remember who writes what. But in that case, I actually desynchronize the writing and they do not see if everybody finishes at the same time. So if you're interested in how it works, you can just find Great at Facebook And there is the webinar where I actually demonstrate this activity with kids and describe it. So anyway, you can do it different way. The main tips are, if you have mixed ability class, first of all, you have to limit the task. For weaker learners, for example, they do not write 2 words, 2 lines, they write 1 line. They do not write 5 sentences, they write 4 sentences, for example. They do not write, answer 7 questions to the text, they can answer 6. If the others tolerate, if they don't feel bad about this, or you can try to conceal your effort. Sometimes you need to do that because the other students might mock. So you can help students work at their own pace. How to make students tolerate each other's mixed ability? First of all, you have to create the atmosphere in your class where being a different is okay. And where students know that they all have strength and they have something that they do not as good, not as well. And where making a mistake is not a crime, where being a slower learner is not a crime. So it helps when you create good atmosphere, when students respect each other. And in this case, the team builders and icebreakers that I showed you at the beginning, they work very well. So very important. If you adjust the tasks for the learners, the atmosphere in class has to be positive, because students, they always look, they always see who has more, who has less, who is faster, slower. So it works only when they tolerate each other. So please work on this as well. So next, the course books. Can you please look at this course book? This is the course books that I used to use. It's called Cambridge More. And can you please look here? This is the syllabus for grammar. Do you think it's fine? Do you think it's okay? In the first unit, they learn past simple and be and past simple of regular verbs. In the second unit, they also learn past simple, but they learn irregular verbs. What do you think about this syllabus? Is this good? If you like it, put a plus. If you don't like it, can you please put a minus in the chat? And then I will tell you what I think and what happened in my classes. I see minuses. It depends on the class, plus minus. Yes, Olga, I agree. A good teacher, a very good teacher can handle this well. Yes. Okay, my experience. Of course, I started teaching as the book says. I started with the first unit. Unfortunately, there were not a lot of activities in the book. They gave 5 regular verbs and students had to practice them. Of course, I wanted to create, I know that the students know more words. I wanted to create the task where students could use past simple words and practice past simple. But whatever I wanted to do, whatever I wanted to create, the task, the problem was that every question, every task that I created, like tell about what you did yesterday, the problem is they always had to use irregular verbs first. I slept, I ate, I read, and it was very, very difficult for me to come up with the task that all only used past simple of be and past simple of regular verbs. It was very difficult for me. And the next unit, it was only irregular verbs. It was okay. So next time I taught the same, what I did, I flipped them. Just because irregular verbs, these are the verbs that are the most frequently used. If you look at that go, be, sleep, eat, drink, these are the words that people use every day. And it was so illogical for me to have regular verbs first and just avoid using irregular that it was very difficult for me to teach students and to stop them from using irregular verbs that we were not supposed to revise. So this is what I didn't like about this course book, and this is what I had to change. Can you please now look at, Can you please look at this course book page? What's wrong with this? Can you please write one word in the chat? Any ideas? Can you look at the topic of the unit and the language and the vocabulary that students have to learn? Any ideas what's wrong? No one's writing, people are confused. Okay, I will tell you what's wrong. I usually teach students who live in Ukraine and live in Kyiv. And no, it's not too much information, but that's a good guess. Confusing. They do not watch TV. They watch YouTube. How relevant is teaching them TV vocabulary? Remote control, change the channel, TV presenter, watch TV. How often do you watch TV? Exactly, that's not confused, that's irrelevant for them. Just imagine that you have to teach, you have a student of, I don't know, 50-year-old adults, and you have to teach them about TikTok and they do not watch TikTok. They don't know what it is. So do you sometimes have such a problem when something in the book is not relevant for some reason? So I sometimes had problems when there was an article about a celebrity my students never heard about. You will be surprised, but 10-year-olds, 7-year-olds, they don't know who is Lady Gaga. This is not the celebrity they know. They have some other celebrities, I don't know. But very often there is a problem with the course book. And I have written a couple of typical problems. Can you please show me a thumb up if you ever face the same problem? Appropriate, inappropriate context. For example, like my context about TV, and my students do not watch TV. I know that it depends on the country, it depends on the city and region. The students that I teach, they do not really watch TV. So this is irrelevant for my students. Okay, what about too easy or too difficult? Can you give me a thumb up if it's something is too easy or too difficult in your course books? Okay, if no, it means that you have a good choice of a course book. Not suitable for students' age. Sometimes I know that you might have to use course books. For example, I know that sometimes teenagers are taught using adult course books, or the kids are too small, or sometimes course books are too childish for students. Sometimes the course books have more problems, like poor skills development. There is no listening in some course books. Yes. Or for example, no writing, or something else. Just somebody mentioned in the context that no context, nothing is contextualized, just the frame with the rule and some exercises, and you have to teach students use the grammar. So sometimes the order is unreasonable, like in the first course book, when first they made students use regular verbs and then irregular. So sometimes the book is not coherent. The pieces, it's like on Frankenstein, and the pieces are not connected with each other, and just what's going on, what's wrong with this book. So all in all, what you can do is I actually flipped the units when I was using the first book. So with the second course book, I didn't take this page. Instead, I chose the language that was close, similar, but a bit different. It was about different programs the students watched on YouTube. Yeah, so there are some suggestions in the chat. I usually use net materials to modify. Exactly, Doris, thank you. So you can modify the book. You can skip something. You can add what is missing. And if you don't like something, if it will not work, to your students, change that. Of course, you have to teach them the grammar and the vocabulary if it's going to be tested or something. But if something doesn't work for your students and you know that this lesson will be helpless, so it's better to do something with the course book to help your students learn something useful instead. All right. So one more problem I wanted to talk about today is, yes, there are some different, I gave you a couple of tips. The problem is, how can you actually learn more? Because I only gave you a little bit of something. So I wanted to share with you some suggestions where you could learn more and where you can learn about each of the problem deeper and find out the answers to your questions. Before we start, I have a question. Right now, you're listening to me. I'm talking to you. I'm sharing some of the experiences. I'm asking you to share. But what is the most important part of any kind of learning? What do you think? Can you please write one word? What is the most important part of any learning? Practice. Yeah, excellent. What else? Right into, yes, understanding, fun, produce. You write excellent words. If I'm not talking about only learning a language, but any kind of learning, how can you actually judge if the learning is successful? Yeah, interaction with the students. What is the most important? Result, yes. Applied, yes. Okay, I will help you. The first letter is F. Any other ideas? Authentic assessment. Okay. We're not talking about only feedback. Thank you, Doris. Exactly. You can learn a technique from me. I'm describing something, and then you come to your class, and then it doesn't work. Or you don't know, but you might make it more effective. So what happens is it's really, really important for a teacher or a tutor to see what's going on and to give you feedback, whether you do it right or you can make it better. So that's why we will never be replaced by robots, I hope, because robots cannot give you feedback. You can learn on your own, yes, but it's very important to understand that you do the things right. So I wanted to share something that we offer as a training center, and I will just give you a couple of insights for you, what you can learn at what we offer at our courses. I'm a CELTA, CELTP and CELTAS trainer, and I wanted to tell you that actually what I shared with you today, you can actually learn at the courses that are CELTP and CELTAS. A couple of words about the courses themselves. So they consist of some online modules where you learn about things and techniques. This is the learning, and you do it at your own time and at your own pace. The learning happens for 6 months. You don't give up your work, your life, and you work with the online platform that is very interesting and fun and cool and easy to use. Then there are portfolio tasks where you try what you have learned, try it with your students. It means that if you learn, for example, how to develop listening skills with the students, you work with the module on the platform, then you have to plan a lesson and try it with the students that you're teaching, which is much less stressful. And you can see if it really, really works. You don't have to think how to teach unknown people, and no one is watching you when you do it. You experiment and then you describe if it works, what worked, what didn't work, whether the techniques that you used worked in your class. And the tutor doesn't watch your lesson, but they read your reflection on this, which means that you practice what you have learned on the platform, try it on your students that you're teaching, and then you reflect it on paper. And you get feedback on this, And you get feedback on practical assignments, because the tutor is going to watch your lessons and give you feedback what you do well and what you can improve and have to improve to make to become a better teacher, to make the learning happen in your class. So you get the feedback here when the tutor checks your portfolio task, how you taught something, reflected what you think worked, what didn't work. And they watch your lessons and they give you feedback. So which means that it's not just something you read and then you don't know how to use it in class, or you don't know whether you use it right. You will actually know from your tutor. And in CELT-P and CELT-S courses, there are face-to-face sessions where you meet with your trainers and you discuss what you have learned, what you have tried with your students, and the trainers will help you, will answer all your questions, and they will share more practical tips with you. So for example, today we discussed how to deal with mixed ability class. This is the screenshot from the platform from Cambridge, where you learn when you take CELT-P or CELT-S. And you can see that there are different modules, and this is module 5. And it tells you reasons why the learners have different abilities, because sometimes to understand how to deal with the learners with different abilities, we need to understand why they have them, whether they have dyslexia or their previous learning experience, or maybe they have problems with their classmates. So which means that you actually learn not just what to do with mixed ability class, but you try to analyze the reasons. What are the kinds of mixed ability classes? Why students are mixed ability? How can you fix a problem and how you can fix different problems? And there are lots of practical suggestions that you can learn from Cambridge, and you can learn from your tutor when you meet face-to-face. So this is one of the units, one of the modules from CELT-P. Another one, also CELT-P, but this time we talk about different learners. So learner preferences, because you might have very different students. You might have students who like singing and who don't like singing at the same time, or students who like writing, who hate writing in one class, or students who like running and jumping, and students who want to sit and write something down. And you also have to teach them, and you have to do it effectively. And Cambridge also helps. So CELT-P and CELT-S also help, and they give you practical suggestions. They help you analyze what kind of class you have and how to teach them more effectively. These are screenshots from CELT-S. This is for secondary students. P was for primary. And if you look here, this is something that teachers usually struggle with: how to motivate teenagers to learn. People usually have problems with that. Teenagers don't want to learn. They have lots of other problems. So here, for example, one of the modules is on motivation, different kinds of motivation, and how to decide which motivation will work best for your students. This is the theoretical part, and lots of practical tips on how to help them, how to really work with your class with unmotivated kids and make them learn. One more, for example, Cambridge also suggests what you can do if your course book doesn't work for some reason. Also, again, there are lots of practical suggestions on what you can do depending on your needs and depending on how bad your course book is. So what I was trying to say that today I shared some tips with you how to work with people, with students who don't really like each other, and that's why they don't want to talk to each other. How to work with large class, how to work with mixed ability class and the class with different abilities and speed and preferences. And also what you can do if you have problems with your course book. I only gave you just a couple of tips because I cannot give you more in 60 minutes. But what I'm trying to say is that there are courses and there are chances to actually take a very good course and to learn everything at one place, and probably have some of your problems fixed because the tutors are going to help you, and they will help you deal with your class, with your specific problems. So if you consider, if you wanted to ask me about CELTA, CELT-P, CELT-S, please feel free to do that, because I'm the tutor, I can answer your questions. I know that the courses, they work very well so far. So if you were hesitating, you can talk to me, you can ask me questions, and I will tell you more. So what is good about CELT-P and CELT-S? There are some questions here. Is it possible to take this course fully online? Yes. Yes, exactly. So because of COVID times, Cambridge are getting more tolerant because people used to travel from different cities of Ukraine for these face-to-face sessions. What happens now is the learning is all online. Once every 5 or 6 weeks, you have to have that meeting online. So you meet in Zoom and you discuss what you have learned. And you can also record your lessons. So if the tutor cannot travel to your location and watch you live, you can actually record your lesson and the tutor can watch the recording of your lesson. And for CELT-P, CELT-S, yes, you can actually take it fully online. We've even had 2 students from China taking the course. They are of Ukrainian origin, but they work in China, and they took the course and they did everything online, and it worked quite well. So CELT-P and CELT-S, you study when you have time. You study everything, you practice everything on your students. So you don't have to teach a bunch of unknown people. These are your students, and you can see how things really, really work. There is a question from someone in the chat. Do I have to work with groups of pupils during the lesson? I'm not working at school at the moment. Yes, Olga, ideally, you have to have a group. You can borrow someone's group and teach them once a month just to practice what you have learned. It's okay to do that. So you don't have to teach that group all the time. You can borrow someone's group. But I mean, ideally, it's easier if you have a group, or you can find the group to teach. You prepare portfolio tasks that I mentioned. You analyze how you experimented with your kids or with your teenagers, what worked, what didn't work. And this is what your tutor is going to check and reflect on. Also, there are 3 lessons that your tutor watches, and we ask you not to prepare surprising good lessons for us. We also ask you to be brave, and if you have several groups of students, choose the group that you have the most problems with, because this is how your tutor can help you fix your problem. So this is not an exam. This is a learning course where we help you develop and we want to help you teach. So you can show imperfect lessons. So that is okay. You can show us trying to do things, and if you're not happy with the lesson, but the tutor will help you and they will tell you how you can do it better next time. So this is the feedback that I was talking about. That is really, really important when you learn, and not only the language, but anything. And when we talk about CELT-P and CELT-S, you have those face-to-face sessions when you meet with your trainer and your peers in Zoom. You discuss everything that you have learned after 2 modules. So this is a good idea to actually ask your tutor, like, dear tutor, I have done everything that Cambridge says in the platform. I have tried it in my class. It doesn't work. Tell me what to do. It's okay. It's possible. Or maybe tell me more. I tried this. It didn't work with my kids or my students. So there is a person, there is a tutor who will help you, and they will share everything that they know to help you become better teachers. So there is a question from Lisa. Do we provide TEFL courses or only CELTA Delta? So no, we haven't got TEFL courses here at Grade UA. We provide CELTA, Delta, CELT-P, CELT-S, and also TKT as a course, as a preparation course, and as an exam. Unfortunately, we don't do TEFL here. Okay, when we talk about CELTA, so this is the CELTA course. One of our recent courses. This is our tutor, Helen Taranenko, and she is now here. This is one of the input sessions. So you could see like how the input session happens. So everyone is in Zoom, people are communicating, having fun, and actually discussing what they've learned. if you are interested in reading more about our teacher training courses, you can actually use the QR code, or you can go to grade.ua. Here are our tutors. We have lots of tutors, local tutors and tutors from different countries that usually work with our students. And so if you would like to read about them, feel free. We have lots of cool people. Also, please join our Instagram and Telegram. You see, there is myself in Telegram. I took a screenshot. So we have a wonderful Telegram group with great teacher training, where you can not only see the announcement, you can also see a lot of recordings from webinars, trainings, and so on, lots of free materials that you could use, tips, and so on. So, and we have a wonderful Instagram that is on the left. So with lots of tips, materials as well. So please feel free to join them. They're usually very, very useful. I also use them a lot. There is a question. How much does it cost? So Ala, you're talking about CELT-P and CELT-S. This is a 6-month course. If I don't mistake, it costs 13,000 hryv. CELTA costs, I think, 32. CELTA costs 32,000 hryv. Again, you can go to our webpage, Grade UA, and you can read about this. So CELTA costs the same all over the world, I think. In some countries more expensive, in other countries cheaper. Ukraine is cheaper, but it's about 32,000 hryv. Okay, so please, let's keep in touch. Join our Telegram, Instagram. Here is my contact as well, so you can write me an email if you like. Visit our web page. If you have questions, please feel free to ask me. You can unmute and ask me something, or you can just drop your question in the chat. Please feel free to talk, feel free to communicate with us. We would like to know who you are teaching, like what problems you are facing, because we might help. And I hope that today you have heard something that will really help you learn, that will really help you teach, and that will probably give you some ideas of how to improve, how to make the learning more effective with the old groups, and how to probably have a better start with the new groups. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask. If you don't have questions, thank you very much for spending this hour with Great Education Center. My name is Lidiya Simak, and I hope to see you again at some other trainings. And thank you very much for being active and participating in our meeting today. That was very, very nice that you actually talked, you dropped your questions, your answers, and you shared what you know well. Thank you very much. So I will wait for a couple of minutes to probably, if you have a question, I might answer. If you don't have a question, have a very lovely evening today. Thank you. Thank you, Ai. Thank you, everyone, for being so nice. If you have a question, please feel free to ask.
Lidiya, excuse me, I have a question. Can I ask you?
Yeah, Daria, first.
Yes, thank you. So I would like to ask, so actually I'm planning to take CELTA-P course right here from Hong Kong, but I really hope to take it at your center.
Nice.
But I'm planning to get it, to take it like after resigning from my company. So is it gonna be a disaster that I want a group to teach during that period of time? So
when you're taking the course, you have to teach at least once a month, because otherwise you will learn everything only in theory. And this is not helpful. So if you have a chance to have a group of kids, if it's CELT-P, it has to be like 6 to 10. If you have a chance to borrow a group of kids from someone, that is what we recommend you doing. Okay. But yes, you don't have to have a group all the time regularly, but to have at least one lesson after each module, that is a must.
Okay, and as far as I understand, like the first session, like the first period, I mean, this first period, right, of the course is online, because I checked it starts in October. Yes. So like maybe
we're going to have, Daria, we're going to have another course. It will start in February. it might be
Okay.
an option for you. So you might either join us in October, or when you are more certain about your work plans, and maybe you will join another company where you have kids to teach, you can join us in February. Why
Yeah,
not?
sure.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you
so
very much. Thank you for being active today.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, I will wait for another minute, or probably not. So there are no questions. So thank you very much. It was nice to talk to you. Nice to see you reacting. Thank you for joining us from so many different countries. And I hope that all your classes will be of the same ability, the same speed. Everyone will be motivated, willing to learn, very nice, and sharing apples with you. So thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.